imagine a life much sweeter than that.
Welcome, Lighthouse Keepers.
I've got a magical knack for guiding
We're
other
here
people
for our
home,
July
and I've
session
never
of
met a
Navigators
storm
of
I
the
couldn't
Commonwealth.
weather
The
alone.
system can't fix
I
it,
think I'll
helping without
be
a
a
perfect solution.
lighthouse keeper.
So Taryn will be popping out into the chat. Our name generator.
I could learn to shine a light if you could learn to ring the bell. What could go wrong? I'll have a story to tell. What could go wrong? I'll have a story to tell.
I am the safe passage keeper. This lighthouse metaphor is a great one for so much of what we do as helping professionals. Check out that name generator, see what your lighthouse keeper vibes are. Our 18th session, oh my gosh, that's crazy, Valerie. Amazing. We'll get started in just a minute. In the meantime, get into the jaunty vibe of the lighthouse keeper. I love this. It's like a sea shanty, Taryn. And as we get warmed up here, also this is an opportunity to chime in on our icebreaker or check-in for today. What situations leave you feeling the most powerless as a helper? So you can scan the QR code or go to menti.com and enter poll code in there. What situations leave you feeling the most powerless as a helper? We love everybody's names here. Wave Watcher, Ladonna, that's great with all your beach time. The Foghorn Friend, these are awesome. Sandbar Supporter, a couple of those out there, great. All right, so we've got results starting to come into our Menti poll. What leaves you feeling the most powerless as a help seeker? Lack of resources, overwhelmed by the system, the unknown. I feel all these responses. Nikki agrees with lack of resources here. Oh, more rolling in. All right, let's keep those responses coming in. I'll play a little bit more of our song here, just keeping the vibes of the sea shanty going as people are adding their thoughts on situations that leave you feeling most powerless as a helper. Lack of resources coming in hot as a big consensus area, but also the unknown, not having the answer. The federal situation, we're going to be talking about that in a minute. The power of addiction, right? These intergenerational cycles that are under-resourced in their support. Administrative turnover, absolutely. Compassion burnout. Savvy adds in not being able to get people what they need. Absolutely, that research piece. Lots of consensus coming in here. Keep those answers coming in. The long wait list, lack of opportunity. Several folks talking about the power of addiction. Yep. Lack of communication. Absolutely. Loss of funding, federal situation. All right, so get your lighthouse keeper name going as we keep rolling here from our warm-up. What do we see as the situations that leave us feeling the most powerless as a helper? Some new answers that have been coming in here. Things closing, no resources, long wait lists, loss of funding, lack of communication, admin turnover. Yep, lots of cost of living increases. So lack of resources and support, not accepting referrals as those costs are going up. Yeah, these are some pretty wicked problems, you all, that is exactly what this session is designed to help us with navigating as helping professionals. So let me go ahead and everybody make sure that you get your name generator. Love everybody's names out in the chat. Thanks for sharing those. So let's talk a little bit about our goals for our session today. And this was, again, kind of the topic that you all voted on a couple of months ago. And we developed the last two trainings last month focused on boundary setting, self-care, all of those different kinds of components. And then this session, when the system can't fix it, based on some of our feedback and conversation a couple of months ago. So they're really designed to go together. Although, as Valerie always says, every single session of Navigator builds on each other because they're all related to different kinds of elements of our principles, practices, and goals as helping professionals and how we can collaborate together. So today's session is all about what to do when caring deeply isn't enough to solve the problem. Sometimes there isn't a solution. Sometimes there isn't housing, there isn't funding. Sometimes the wait list is 6 months, like you all have been saying in the warm-up. Sometimes somebody isn't ready, like with the power of addiction comments that folks put in the poll. Sometimes systems fail. And when that happens, helpers often feel like we've failed too. So today is really about giving you all some strategies for how good helping can look when the perfect solution doesn't exist and we don't have that magic wand or magical answers to address these systemic and structural kinds of issues here. So as always, with Navigators, just a few reminders of how we want to be in the space together, active participation, love everybody using the chat and engaging here, and what keeps folks coming back. Some great prompts out in the chat. Please introduce yourself and connect with folks. And we, as you can, please stay present, be on camera so we can connect with each other if that works with where you're at with your work schedule. Let's stay open and curious, working together here, especially as we go into breakouts and we're sharing our experiences. And just being careful about sound too, making sure we mute ourselves when we're not talking. But again, remembering our goal here to have fun, connect with each other, while also keeping this a supportive environment where we can learn and grow. So I just want to normalize before handing it over to Valerie here, some of what you all have been mentioning in terms of the federal situation, what we're dealing with as helping professionals in the current moment. So here's some data. What does the data say? As we always do, we start off with what does the research or what does the data say? What does the data say right now, though, about health and human services funding, right? Especially at that federal level that several of you all mentioned. So according to the resource that I linked to before, that is a watchdog of federal funding, states and health organizations are still waiting for about $211 million in grants to grow their 988 suicide hotline capabilities, $75 million to build out global disease outbreak response, $3 million to build out treatment centers for opioid addiction. And this new nine-step political process delayed the CDC from posting around 30 grants, around $728 million. At SAMHSA, more than half of its projected $700 million worth of grants were held up this year. And we have major backlogs that you see represented here with two of our big funders, SAMHSA and CDC, for health and human services types of activities here. But that's not all, right? It's not just the federal situation. It's also what's happening here in Kentucky. So there's, if you all have been following this, and Kentucky Voices for Health is our amazing advocates in this space for advocating for Medicaid and Medicare support and expansion here. They've been tracking the ways that the Medicaid program may see state reductions and rate reductions in the next fiscal year. There was some original talk that we were going to see a 4% decrease in reimbursement rates. The governor has now reversed that with some budget surplus, so hopefully be able to hold the line for this current fiscal year. But that is a major challenge that we're continuing to balance when we're thinking about the overall state budget. There's not enough money to sustain the senior meal program, according to the governor. Our TANF program is going to see additional reductions. Last October, Bashir reduced cash payments through the KTAP program. And foster parents and providers are going to see reductions in rate payments, although it's going to be unclear what that looks like. According to the Commissioner Stack, actions will need to be taken regarding the foster care network, regarding the foster homes and rates that they'll receive for payments, as well as special programs put in place to help support foster children to overcome adversities and help have the best opportunity to thrive. Those are all on the chopping block. And another thing that was mentioned during this press conference is that there's not enough funding to maintain our current number of social workers. Behavioral health services will be impacted, but it's unclear how. And also, you all may have seen that only 10% of our local opioid abatement funds have been distributed at this point. There's a lot of work still to be done in terms of local decision making and allocation of those funds. So all that is to say, as I'm just confirming and normalizing what you all are saying in terms of the Menti poll, this is a unique moment in terms of funding uncertainty for health and human services in Kentucky and federally more broadly here. So let me turn it over to Valerie to talk about our reality check in the face of this system and the challenges it always presents us, but particularly in this moment of strain and disinvestment.
What an uplifting message for us all today.
Wah,
You know,
wah.
I know we started off with the light and it kind of just went downhill from there with the reality. But the word that I want to go back to that Dr. McGladgy brought up was normalizing. I think in a lot of these roles, I know this is something that I hear, oh, self-care, self-care. And it's almost like you can outdo things that are completely out of your control. And so that's why we really wanted to have this session to normalize that there are many things that are out of everyone's control, even with the best intentions. And I also want to say, despite resources and funding, this is human work. I mean, if you had unlimited resources to do anything, you're still dealing with humans, and there's still going to be a level of unpredictability. You're not going to be able to solve every single problem just because the resources are there. So now you have the human work and the resource strain and funding strain on top of everything just colliding. But I wanted to pause here on this slide because I think this is something that many helping professionals quietly carry. So how many of you have ever gone home thinking, I should have done more, or there has to be something that I'm missing? Or maybe like if I were better at my job, like I could have fixed this. And I think that's an incredibly common feeling because this is a group of helping professionals. So it's like in everyone's DNA to want to be a fixer and a helper. But sometimes the reality is much simpler and much harder at the same time. So like we've just heard, sometimes that housing isn't available. That's just it. Sometimes treatment has a 4-month wait list. Sometimes transportation simply doesn't exist and we cannot make it up. Sometimes the court date is 6 weeks away. Sometimes funding has run out. Sometimes policy limits what you're allowed to do. And these are not personal failures. These are system realities. And I think that helpers often absorb responsibility for problems that they did not create. So that does not mean that we stop caring and that we just get apathetic and, it's just another day. I'm just here. But it means that we stop measuring our value in this work by whether every problem gets solved. Because if that's the standard, we will never feel like we're doing enough. So I think most of us got into helping professions because we genuinely want to make people's lives better. And that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes that desire slowly shifts into something else. And we start believing that if someone is still struggling, we have just not tried hard enough. So I'm bringing up that like human factor. There are only so many things that you can control. You can't actually control how someone receives your help. Like I say this all the time, engagement is a relationship. You can care about anyone in your life, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone, a help seeker, but you can't do everything for them and feel everything for them. And I talk a lot too about that gap between intent and impact. It's not the intent, and the misfire is not always because of the person. It's because there's another person with a different set of perceptions, readiness, emotional availability, will, whatever else is going on at that time. So, when we have that feeling a lot, and I'm not projecting onto you, so I'm not saying that everybody feels this, but it can be common to start working later, answering emails at night, like going into those boundaries that we talked about last session and also in a previous session, because that's a recurring theme. Making one more phone call, like I will find that, under a rock housing that I think has to exist, right? I will keep calling. I'll check another food pantry. I'll ask every single church here if they will donate. We promise one more thing. You carry things home, not because you've been asked to, but because you care. And then before you realize it, you cross over from supporting someone into feeling responsible for their outcome. And those are two different things. Support says, I'm here with you, and that's healthy, and that's what you can do. And hopefully that's what you're committing to do, is to walk with someone in their journey. But rescue says it's my job to make this okay. And the truth is, none of us are big enough to become the system. So we cannot personally create housing unless you let people move in with you, which is could be legally questionable, boundaries there. But you can't personally create housing. We can't shorten wait lists. We can't change legislation tomorrow. It's impossible. So sometimes we unintentionally, start trying to do those things. All right, so this, honestly, it may be one of my favorite metaphors that we've used all this year. So think about it, what a lighthouse actually does. A lighthouse does not stop a storm. Like, it's going to storm. It's going to get dark. It doesn't pull the ships into the harbor. It doesn't steer the boat. It doesn't calm the waves. If there's a hurricane, the lighthouse doesn't think, oh, I have failed, because that was never its job. Its job is to remain visible, to provide direction, to be steady, and to help people navigate when things are difficult. So again, lighthouse can be there, all types of things can be going on around, and it's just there. And that's, when you think about your roles, that's a much healthier way to think about helping. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer isn't a solution. It's not pulling people out. It's not, getting the boats. It's not suddenly making all the water go calm or changing the weather. Sometimes it's just consistency, and it's honesty, showing up, helping someone know that they are not navigating the storm alone. And that's not less than solving the problem. Sometimes that's exactly what someone needs to keep moving forward. Okay, so I want to put ourselves in a situation that many of you have probably experienced in one form or another. So we have Maria. Maria is a single mom. She has been given an eviction notice. There aren't any shelter beds available. Transportation is unreliable. She's waiting for treatment. Her kids are struggling. And then she looks at you and asks, what am I supposed to do now? So here we go. Eviction notice, no shelter beds, unreliable transportation, waiting for treatment, children are involved. What am I supposed to do now? So I want you to notice something. This isn't a trick question. There's not one right answer. There isn't a resource hiding somewhere that will magically fix all of this. And that's intentional, because this is where helping gets hard. Again, not because we don't care, but because caring isn't always enough to remove every barrier. And that's where I want our discussions here in this group to begin. So keep this with you as we go into breakout sessions. For those who are new here and for those who are returning, we are not the experts in all things helping professional, help seeking, and helping. We are just creating a space where there are people that are doing this to come together and learn from one another and guide these conversations. So we know that many, if not all of you, are in helping professional roles. And we like these breakout sessions so that you can do some shared learning and some shared questioning amongst yourselves. So for the next few minutes, we would like each group just to work through these questions. And the goal is not to solve Maria's situation. This session is all about when there is not a solution. What do you do? So the goal here is the opposite. It's to separate what belongs to you from what doesn't. So first, what parts of the situation can you realistically influence? Second, what parts are completely outside of your control? And third, even if nothing changes today, what could you still offer Maria that has value? So if you could talk about these questions in your group. If someone would like to report back to the larger group, just let them know and designate that. Again, there is no right answer. Just want to think about perspective.
Awesome, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms. So as you're chatting, though, just as a reminder, please be sure to introduce yourself. What's your name? What's your role? What agency? Where are you working? Just to kind of help us with connecting with each other and networking as we're learning from each other, as Valerie said. All right, rooms are opening. We'll be together for at least 10 minutes. Welcome back to folks who are already back in the main room. I hope you had great conversations, or at least conversations that are helpful and kind of drawing those different boundaries of what's mine to do and what can't I control in my role as a helping professional in this moment. So as folks are getting back in here, it'd be great to hear from people about what did you notice? What did you feel pulled to rescue? Where, in what kinds of ways did you feel pulled to rescue? What forms of help still mattered despite those barriers and challenges that Maria was facing? So go ahead and start popping responses onto the chat as folks are in the Menti pool, as folks are coming back to the main room. You can put answers in the chat, of course, and also in the Menti pool. Menti pool is great, though, because what it allows us to do is share your responses and the collective wisdom and learning of the group with everybody in our follow-up. So if you can put those responses in the Menti, that's wonderful. So folks are coming back. What did you notice? Where did you feel pulled to rescue? And what forms of help still matter? Valerie, what did your group talk about?
Oh gosh, I love the breakout sessions. I love learning from everyone else here. Very similar themes amongst everyone that had shared. One was consistency. So even if you can't pull a resource out of a hat, if you are just there, you keep checking in. We talked about being really clear about what you can do and what you can't do. So someone had mentioned, there's nothing that anyone can do about this person being a single mom. Like, we're not going to do matchmaking here and get another person in the house, but maybe they can offer this resource or they can be a listening ear. We talked about validation and, within appropriate boundaries. So not something like saying, well, I know how you feel, but at least saying, this is a difficult situation, this is tough, at least so the person feels heard. We talked about, again, the boundaries from last session, but boundaries with self and boundaries with others. So as far as self, knowing that there's a lot going on here, there's a lot of different pieces, and it could get overwhelming for the helping professional. So a boundary with yourself is, I am going to try to help this family during my working hours. I am going to make sure that I am regulated before I interact with this other person so that you're able to keep showing up. And also talked about, with all those different pieces, just figuring out what small things or one by one things can be done and doing that in partnership with the family. So, what is the biggest priority for you right now? Asking that rather than to just look at every single thing and feel really hopeless. And we also talked about checking in with other people for maybe some mentorship on how to navigate this situation. So, not feeling like their world is resting on your shoulders. I would say the final thing that was a big theme from several people, which I don't know if you all got, I mean, this was in my engagement do's and don'ts checklist, is not to sell hopes and dreams. So we are not going to tell this family, don't worry, we will solve all your problems. You will be in housing tomorrow with a brand new car. I will call Oprah myself. Like, we'll fix all of this. Just say what you can and can't do, commit to that, keep showing up, only talk about what you know for certain.
Sounds like some great conversations in other breakouts here too. In terms of some of the reflections, someone was saying no one wants to see a mother and children sleep outside. Absolutely, yeah. This is a really shocking kind of circumstance if we're not able to get the family in a safe and secure kind of housing situation. And really aligned with what Valerie said, being there for the client, regardless of the material things that could be done, just being there, right? Knowing the mental strain on mom while trying to provide for the children, offering support and encouragement and meeting them where they are. Communication, two big ones that came out with the other reflections. Communication, even if you're waiting on answers to be able to provide to your consumer. And then being supportive and listening without judgment is some different strategies. And as Valerie said, you can offer presence even if you don't have resources. Any thoughts on these shares, Valerie?
Yeah, the first comment again, we talked about that a little bit, just that the pull to fix, and that's what this whole session is about. I want to believe that if everyone had a magic wand here, we would just solve world hunger and everything would be rainbows and sunshine. It is a difficult situation to witness. I would say probably more difficult for the family going through it. But again, what you can do and what you can't do is to continue to be there, to continue trying to take care of yourself so that when a resource becomes available, you're still there and you're not burnt out. Follow up and remain consistent. I think that is really helpful. I don't know, we may have talked about this previously, but engagement isn't always real time. It's keeping the door open. So maybe that family's got a lot going on and they might not say thank you right away. But whenever things get stable for them, years down the line, they're going to remember that was someone who showed up, that was someone who called me, that was someone who checked in, and they may come back years later. I just want to make it all go with them. Yes, we did talk about that again, the helper DNA, just wanting to roll your sleeves up, wanting to fix. Someone had a really good piece of boundary advice in our group of doing work on a work computer, leaving that computer at the office, not taking that home. I mean, these things are really helpful. Knowing the strain on mom. I appreciate that comment just from a recognizing trauma piece because at the point where you do find resources, we don't know how this family is going to react. They could be so overloaded that they don't say thank you and they don't receive the resource the way that you are like, what? They needed it and I solved it. Because all of the strain and burden on them, they might not be able to communicate at that time. So just really being aware that this person's going through a lot. I can't really control how they react to not getting resources or how they react to getting resources. They may not be their best self. I could compare that to hunger. I just don't do very well when I get hungry. And like, please don't judge my whole character off of that. But I just know that about myself. And, so just think about being hungry, unhoused, transportation, children. And so, this may not be someone that is able to meet you in any way. And just being aware of that. And it says that in there too, meet them where they are. Always make sure they know their options, even if it's not. That goes back to the communication, clarity, boundaries, consistency. Those are the themes that continued to come up. Yeah, and I like the judgment piece too, because that could be a really hard one. If you finally come across a resource and they don't accept it for some reason, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, you needed housing and I found somewhere and they don't like it." That could be disappointing on you, but it's about them. And also just their ability to make decisions when they have so many multiple stacking things going on. Okay. So, language, we do this a lot. Sentence frames, we want to leave you with some tools. So, sometimes the smallest change in language changes the entire interaction. And we talked about this a bit in our group of, not saying things like, oh, I've been in your shoes. I understand this. It sounds nice, but we don't know how that will land with someone. So, think about the difference between saying, I'll fix this. Like that is a commitment, that is a promise, versus I'll stay with you while we figure out next steps. So one creates an expectation that you may not be able to meet unless you have housing, transportation, everything that this person needs for childcare, all the things. It just may not happen, right? So I'll fix this is selling hopes and dreams. It could be overpromising, but the other one communicates partnership. So I will stay with you while we figure out next steps, and that also retains their agency and their decision making. No one wants to feel like because they're in a hard spot, they now have to turn their whole life over to someone else. Like maybe they do still want to pick out which housing option works the best for their needs. Maybe they don't want to have to give up their pet if the apartment doesn't allow dogs. Maybe they like it's like a we. So they're still decision making, they're still sharing, they're still feeling their humanity in this in a time that could be really dehumanizing for them. So instead of saying, I don't know, you can say, I don't have the answer today, but let's look at what is possible. So that's honesty without someone feeling abandoned. When you say, I don't know, that's just like, it's it. I mean, where do you go from there? I don't know it. I don't have the answer. That's it. But I don't have the answer today leaves options, it leaves possibility for the future, and it also implies that tomorrow you're going to look into it, you're going to do something, and that you're not just dumping them and running, right? So we don't, rather than jumping into immediate problem solving, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I can see why this feels overwhelming. So again, we talked about that in our breakout session of just that validation of, it's when we have that helper DNA, someone was calling it like helping disease. Uh, it feels like it can feel like they need something. If I fulfill that need, I did something great. But when someone is in the moment of having stacking things going on, they need to be regulated first and they need to be seen first. And so just kind of addressing that, like I can see why this feels overwhelming. That's a way that you can meet them where they are in some type of way without being in their position and then moving forward from there. So people don't always need the certainty first. Like I tend to not feel like a help seeker is unreasonable in expecting, oh, if I go to this person, they are going to buy me a new house. Like, but if they go to someone that's a helping professional, they just want to retain their dignity and be heard. So sometimes people really just need to know that somebody understands. All right. So I think that helping professions sometimes celebrate outcomes that we don't fully control. So did someone get housing? Did they complete treatment? Did everything work out? Those are wonderful outcomes, but they're not always within our control. And the work that we control can look different. Did we build trust? Did we reduce isolation? Did we give someone accurate information? Did we stay honest? Did we connect them to resources? Were we consistent? So, again, this whole session is about systems things that are out of our control. We cannot control the housing crisis. We cannot control food shortages. We cannot control federal funding streams. What we can control is setting appropriate boundaries for ourselves so that we are healthy to receive help from, being honest, creating appropriate expectations, trying to find resources. Like those are the things. Trust, keeping the door of engagement open. Those are the things that matter. And sometimes those things become the reason that someone comes back tomorrow instead of giving up today. So again, that example that we just had of, I don't know, like imagine going up to a desk in an office and it's like, oh, you have a big question. I don't know. Imagine going back up to the desk. I don't know, but let me find out. You're going to stick around or you're going to come back or you say, I'm going to talk to so and so. We're going to look into this. Thanks for raising this question. It must be hard for this to be unknown for you. All right, next slide.
just putting in the chat and then actually follow up right after you've looked into it and close that loop, right?
Yes, always important. When you receive information from someone, when they ask for information, we continue. That keeps them feeling empowered, and power can come through knowledge and information as well. So I would like to leave you all with one final thought. There will be days when you don't fix it. I'm sure it may have happened for some of you already. I think that was one of the first things in our breakout session was someone was like, "Yep, everything you said about the feelings, I've been there." So there will be days when you don't fix it. You will not solve it. You may not create affordable housing. If you do, great. Please continue what you're doing. It's needed. But you may not create affordable housing. You may not shorten the wait list. You may not change policy. You may not erase someone's trauma. And if you measure your success only by those things, you may leave feeling defeated. But success isn't always measured by whether the problem disappeared. Maybe success is measured by whether someone felt heard, whether they left with hope, whether they trusted one more person than they did yesterday, whether they came back instead of disengaging and disappearing. So, if you take anything away from this as a wrap up, you may not always be able to change the system, but you might be the reason that someone keeps trying. And I think, and we as a team, we think that that's worth doing.
Absolutely. And I was thinking with the last two slides in particular, Valerie, what are the implications of this for how we do evaluation and outcomes measurement, right? And what we're promising to payers that we're going to be able to provide. That's often because we're trying to meet the measures that from a quality or payer perspective, they want to reduce. We say we're doing those things, but we're really not under our control as helping professionals. What are we actually able to do through our programming? So I think that, and also, how are we measuring our outcomes in ways that are meaningful to the help seekers and not just to the folks that we are accountable to for funding and all of those and compliance kinds of things, right?
Okay.
So I think I just kept thinking about all the evaluation implications of this too, in addition to the boundary setting around getting into trying to fix systems that are unfixable from this like individual level. So big thoughts and feels on all this.
I have said this and sorry to anyone if this is hard to hear, but participation is not engagement. Like someone can be there in body, they can be a head count. That doesn't mean that they're engaged. And that doesn't necessarily point to whether they have better outcomes. It just means that you were able to count them. So, I mean, I know that many of that evaluation is out of some people's control, but I would love to see evaluations shift more toward like, did this person feel better off, left better off than how we found them? Did they come back? Did they refer someone else to this? Was there a change in their life? Are they open? Those are the things rather than we served X number of people. All right,
And
so
what
we
is
have,
one thing? Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry, Valerie, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to read you either way. Closing question here. What is one thing that you can offer even when you can't solve the problem? And I know that I think we said in our group, helping can feel helpless. So everyone wants to fix, but when you can't fix, sit in the suck with them. That's going to be the one that we frame from this session. We've always got a quote. We've got in the chat here, qualitative outcomes and data relation conversation can never be over considered. Yes. Listen, listen, I want to add to that like active listening. Right? Like really being present with someone, this was another session, but they all build and overlap, getting off the checklist. Because you can listen to fill out your paperwork and listen enough, but are you actively listening? Are you hearing what they're not saying too? You can still advocate for their needs. Yeah, I know there are so many people who are putting out fires and they don't get to go into the broader advocacy spaces, and there's room for both. Additional resources for their needs or case management. Sincere respect. I like the sincere respect. Just because someone needs help does not mean that they don't know how to read the room. People know if you like them. People know if you're cheering for them. Someone had said in our group to just be real. Just be real. And I love that. I love that. It's just really simple. You're being honest, you're telling the truth. I think of it too as if your friend or family member called you with the same need, like how would you react? Follow up and remain consistent. Yes, follow up is so important. You may have ran around and called every single place, and you may have had a staff meeting at where you work. If the help seeker doesn't know that you've done any of this because you didn't tell them, they could feel abandoned. They could feel like no one cares. They could say, "Don't go to that place because I poured my heart and soul out to so and so and never heard back from them." Meanwhile, you've been running all around the Tri-County area trying to help them. So communicate that back, and not in a self-important way, like I need you to know all the things that I've done for you, but just letting them know we're still in this together. I'm doing what I can. This is the reality, and it's hard, all of those things. You can offer your lived experience. You can help them understand their options. Yep, support options. Yep, being positive. That goes back to the lighthouse. You might be the light for them when everything else feels really dark. Encouragement, stability. And with this question, I don't think that we want to say it in not that anyone's reading it that way. I don't want it to sound minimizing, like, oh, you can't really do what you need to do, but what's like a consolation prize? Like, this is not a consolation prize. Like, there is a lot of value in this. And again, I think with help seekers, I don't think every help seeker believes that someone can solve every single thing in their life. A lot of times when I talk to other people and impacted people, I really think the number one thing is people want to be heard. And I think that with professionals too. I mean, across the board, people just want to feel heard and they want to retain their humanity. The rest, I mean, there will be storms. Even if you solve their problem, life will keep lifing. A year from now, something else will come up, something else will come up. But what people need is to know that somebody cares, that someone's available, that whenever the next hurdle arises, that they have a safety net, they have a sounding board. I think that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Beautiful, you all. Thank you so much. All right, so let's look ahead. Thank you so much, Valerie, for another beautiful session where we're exploring those tensions, right, between our call and our disease as a helper, right? That's call to helping. And what do we do in these spaces that are not helpful? Resources and systems that don't help us help our help seekers. Just a constant paradox, but a tension that we've got to be in if we're going to be effective and stay in this as a the long haul, as opposed to that burnout that I think Laura was talking about here. I love this metaphor Laura had in the chat. A lighthouse only works if its bulb is not burned out or broken. Keep your bulb clean and bright. Feed it the best power source to keep it strong. Shine on, y'all. I love that one. Thanks, Laura, for that uplift here. Yes, LaDonna saying I needed this. Thank you. Yep. Brittany said embrace the suck. That's great. Sit with the suck. That's a really good one. I think that needs to be on needlepoint somewhere, like I was saying out in the chat. So great tips as always, learning from everybody. Yeah, we all needed this today, I think. At least I did as well. Thanks everybody for your comments. So looking ahead to our next Navigators session, we have another special session here with our Transforming Reentry group that includes Brittany Harrington, Ashley Marler, Rebecca Gray, and Savvy Shabazz, who are on our call today with Navigators. What we're bringing to you all is the reentry panel that this group led for our overdose prevention summit in-person presentation a couple of months ago. But we thought it was going to be really helpful for you all to learn from this team and the work that they've been doing in the Reimagining Reentry work group, which is our sister work group to Navigators of the Commonwealth. But it is just for folks who are working at the intersection of the criminal legal system and opioid use disorder recovery kinds of options, folks who are navigating all of those really complex systems across criminal legal system kinds of considerations, especially people who are working in jail and then continuity of care kinds of context. So lots of folks on this call who are part of that conversation, lots of cross-pollination. So on the 26th, our leadership team, Ashley, Rebecca, Savvy, and Brittany, are going to be sharing our Transforming Reentry panel, how peer-led learning communities are rewriting overdose prevention and recovery. And I think the most exciting part about this presentation is sharing the group's Photo Voice project and getting kind of a preview of this project that we've designed to help not only provide education and understanding of what the reentry process looks like, what success looks like, what investment in people who are reentering their community looks like, but also some of the very real barriers and challenges at that specific intersection. So that's what that panel will be all about. I see Brittany's face right now. Brittany, anything you want to say about this one ahead on the 26th on behalf of the team before we go to our next reminder?
No, I mean, we did a little bit of work. We got creative. We got into our left brain a little bit, and we're excited to show that off and, gather some ideas and inspiration from others.
Thanks, Brittany. So that's our next session on the 26th. We'll be sending out, as always, reminders to everyone and materials from today's session out as a reminder. Then the other piece that I wanted to give you all as a heads up, if you have not yet RSVP'd for our in-person gathering on September 17th in Frankfurt at the Kentucky Association of Counties offices, we would love to have you there in person. Lots of you all have already registered, and we're so excited to match actual faces and people with our Zoom screen and be able to network and connect. The idea with this group is that we're also going to be doing recruiting from the local government association, right? So we'll have local decision makers there, folks from the Kentucky Judicial Commission on Mental Health, and the people who've been part of our various work groups from the Reimagining Reentry group to, of course, Navigators, and then also our MOUD in jail work groups. We'll all be coming together and being able to have an opportunity to learn from each other. The first session of the day will be focused on Navigators, giving everyone a flair and flavor for what we have been doing and how they can get involved. So would love to have you there if you have not already RSVP'd. I'll also make sure that this information is in our follow-up email. And when I email you all, if there are any logistical challenges to transportation or travel, but you would like to come, you just let me know, reply to the email, and we'll see what we can do. It's great. Okay. So, and then we had a couple last minute items here that I wanted to make sure to share. Wait, nope, that was just one here. Let me share real quick from Nikki at KYA. Nikki's always got amazing opportunities for us as a group. Nikki, are you on to talk a little bit about Sound of Hope coming up here, this event on August 14th that I will also make sure we get as a follow-up?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll just take a quick second. So it is just part of the foster parents, kinship, and adoption. It's just part of those efforts. Reunification, we always want that. Part of those efforts, just an opportunity, if people haven't seen that movie, or even if they have, to educate our communities about some of the things that happen in foster care, but also, the ways that any of us can help. So it is a free screening, free dinner, free parking at the Muhammad Ali Center. So we'd love everyone to register and to come out if you can, and to please just share it with others as well. Let's get the word out and get reunification or loving homes for our youth who need that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know lots of folks here will be interested in participating in that. We'll get that out to everybody as a follow-up, along with our event sign-up and information about the next session here. Thank you so much for this time together in community and solidarity and seeing each other, validating each other, normalizing these challenges. We're so grateful for this community and everything that you do as helpers out there in the Commonwealth every single day. See y'all next month.
I just wanted to add that similar to how you interact with help seekers, we are here. We'll be here every month. We are consistent. We're trying to be a lighthouse for you all as well. So we know this work can be hard, trying to validate that. We will not promise you that we can solve all your resources or funding or any of that, but we will have a space here that you can connect with other people.
Perfect. Shine bright out there, y'all. See you next time. Bye.
Everyone.